Hey everyone, just checking in with today's daily update and the weekly review. So let me just load this up and then we can sort of go over what's been done. So yeah, first of all, um, you know, we're 3 weeks in now, or week 3 is just finished, and I've got not even a sort of fully functioning first world. Um, the scope of what I wanted to do would maybe have been achievable had I not started a new job today. However, that's sort of definitely um, thrown a major spanner in the works, so to speak. So I don't know if I'm going to get this project finished within the time limit that's allocated, the sort of 33 or so days that were given to me. But what I'm going to do is hopefully by the end of that time period, I want to have 3 working worlds so that I can put a demo out and just get some sort of feedback in terms of how people feel like it plays and go with that. I think that's a much more sort of fair and achievable goal based on what I've currently got and how much time I'm just not going to have anymore. So yeah, that's probably going to be my plan going forward. So to cover off on what I've done this week, I've made a fair few changes to just movement in general. These boxes obviously shoot you out a lot faster. Um, I've changed some of the previous levels, just bits here and there. So yeah, overall, it's been a fairly productive week. I've added these objects, these arrow blocks. So yeah, I'm happy with how they work. They took me a while to get going, but obviously there were some fundamental changes that needed to take place before they could sort of work as intended. So I'm glad that that's all sort of done now. Yeah, in terms of other sort of changes along the way. I've made major sort of changes to the way things draw this week. So I remember I massively reduced the time that a single draw call was taking down to about 0.001 seconds, which obviously makes high frame rate much more achievable. So that's great. Yeah, outside of that, just some level design. Obviously the backgrounds were an additional thing as well. So yeah, I'd say it's been a fairly productive week, given everything. So, I'm not unhappy with the progress we've made. I just wish I had a bit more time. Um, but hey, that's absolutely fine. We'll continue to work on this anyway. It's not going to go away all of a sudden just because I'm not going to make it in time. That would be, ridiculous. Um, this is still a fairly reasonable project, I think, and if I don't constrain myself to try and get it done arbitrarily within that time limit, it means that I'm going to be able to give myself more time to polish it off a lot nicer and get it in a state that I'm sort of happier with. So yeah, overall I think this is probably going to work out for the better. It also means that I can sort of slow progress just a little bit. Maybe do a level a day sort of thing, rather than focusing too much on it and then having that sort of hinder my mental health and other such things. So yeah, net positive change I think. Yeah, overall very happy with it. So other things that got changed this week, these little sharp cell things can now drop a key or a health object or anything else on death. So I was tempted to add like a puck drop on death. I thought that might be quite cool. Oh, that's a small bug actually. It shouldn't be getting hurt there, but it did for some reason, so that's good to know. Yeah, so they can now drop things on death, which obviously means I can do some pretty cool stuff. I've changed the amount of particles that draw recently as well. So as you can see, there's stuff drawing in the background now at a sort of higher rate. It just spawns in a bit more frequently as well, so when you go to another area, it doesn't sort of look so barren, which I quite like, because I think that was one of my major concerns, was that if you moved between areas too quickly, it would often look like nothing had sort of changed. So now I know the camera here looks a bit janky in terms of it moves up and sort of leaves you a bit off screen. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be changing the way the camera's working. So at the moment I've got it so that it moves to fixed locations. I'm instead going to have it so that it's like 2 times the zoom that it's currently at, centered on the player, and have them moving around the screen, and have it when that you change areas, it'll change the constraints for where the camera can move instead, so that you can be over here and have it locked to this edge still, but instead of seeing all of the level at once, it means that you're a bit more focused. You can't see the whole level at once, and you get to explore a bit more. I think that'll be quite nice, and it's just going to sort of feel a bit better. So anyway, this is one of the new levels that I've added today. It's literally just sort of your introduction to water. Um, Basically, the idea is, yeah, get the key, and don't die. If you stay still in the water too much, you do in fact die. Now, there's a bit of a draw issue here where the transparency is sort of drawing wrong. I can't really describe it. It's like you're... I don't really know, to be honest. I think it's that the transparency effect from the gas is making it so that the red values of the sprite are higher than they otherwise would be, which, it is what it is, I guess. I might find a way to change that, or alternatively I might just cut the water off on these parts. But I quite want the water-gas interaction, because if you try to go through here and you're not yellow, you will just die. Because you can't make it all the way through without sort of becoming stationary and then fading into obscurity, from as far as I'm aware. Like, even if I release on the very edge, oh okay, I can just about make it, but that's sort of a very difficult thing to do. So yeah, either way. And again, so small issue with that transition. These barriers here are just a little bit wrong on the X and Y values. That's absolutely fine, I can sort of change that. But as I say, that'll sort of when there's a better camera movement in place, that'll be better anyway. So something I had to add today, of course, because it was never really something that had come up previously, was like puck uniqueness in boxes. So yeah, you can see I can't pick up any more than one puck anymore, which was a bug that I ran into, and then I was like, oh, I need to think about that. So to get up here, you actually have to strafe, from my understanding. I don't think there's a way to do that otherwise, because what you need to do, you need to strafe into this blue so that you can put this puck in this box. Now, as I'm sure you can see, when you're too close to an edge, the hitbox of the puck is essentially immediately in the wall, and so it will immediately get caught on the wall essentially, and immediately self-destruct. So that's something I need to tweak. It's just the hitbox of the puck just a little bit. But yeah, you go in there, it changes the color of the puck to, blue in this case, and that then sort of lets it through. You need to work out, I guess, that you can't have either of these two pucks to do that, because they both activate a barrier respectively. So that's all good. You can, however, put one of these pucks in this other box here if you so desired, which isn't necessary, but was something I thought about when I was designing the puzzles. So that's all fine. So you could do it in this order, I think. For some reason, I can't remember. You might be able to do it the other way around. It shouldn't matter too much anyway. So yeah, that's just the sort of simple premise. It's a very simple premise. I might make this bit up here a bit nicer, and have it maybe so that this bit here is like vertical, so that you've got one barrier here and then you can come into it from below, because then that way you can sort of come horizontally, and yeah, move this other on-off barrier to like here, and then that way, yeah, you can come into it vertically rather than having to worry about strafing. As I say, I'm not sure that's too much of a concern. It's just something I was sort of thinking about. So yeah, that's the sort of levels that we got done today. As I say, massively reduced sort of time budget now. So yeah, just to go over sort of what we've done this week. So if I zoom in a bit, make it a bit bigger for you. So week 3 goals, as they sort of stood from the end of last week. So finish additional objects, I had about 3 left, and I'd like to say I got all of those done. So the working puck barrier was one of them. Gosh, to be fair, I think I did add something else as well, which I don't know if I actually covered off. It's sort of there, but I've not really had a good chance to use it. It's basically a timer, but when you press Z, it toggles. That's pretty much it. Um, so yeah, that's absolutely fine. I can sort of show that off as and when. Arrow boxes, the ones that sort of self-destruct, they obviously were a major part of this week. Was trying to fix that bug that was sort of interfering with them. So that's all fine. And then obviously the puck in the puck box has got big updates, so they're now sort of unique, and obviously their mechanics work a little bit nicer for the player. There's still some things I want to go over, so obviously there was a bug there that I've now found that I need to fix with my sharp cells, but that's absolutely fine. We can get into that. Overall I think they're working much better than they were though, so very happy with that. Particle effects, yeah, pretty much exactly what it says there. I'm very happy with how it looks. Overall, I think it definitely added a lot of spice. Made something that looked quite bland otherwise into something that looks rather pleasant overall. I like the backgrounds as they are. Um, so yeah, not quite perfect. I've upped the rate fairly consistently actually. I've sort of consistently upped the rate at which these things spawn in. I might just change it a little bit so that um, they move either in like a static direction so that they always go right and down at varying rates, or just make them a bit slower. I'm still sort of playing around with ideas, but yeah, it's one of those where it's just sort of a case of do it until it feels good. I think that's very much a sort of um, fair way for it to be. So actually, just very quickly while I'm going over these goals, what I'll do is I will come in here and I'll go camera. Here we go. Get rid of this and then change this here to make it graphics. Where are we? Sorry for the brief delay. I just thought I'd show you roughly what I'm talking about with regards to um, the sort of new camera I want to make it look a bit nicer. I haven't got the constraints programmed in yet, but hopefully that will be fairly easy. Literally just an XY value for the top left, an XY value for the bottom right, and then I can have the triggers that are currently setting the static camera position, just set those instead, which is absolutely fine. So it should be about this. So if I load this up, it might be a bit too big. I might want sort of like 15 or so. Obviously, I need to, if I do go ahead with this, I'll need to tidy up things like this geometry that's clipping out of bounds. I've done that for most of the rest of the game, but just not for these ones. But that's absolutely fine. This is a lot closer to sort of how the original game was. Very much the sort of spirit of exploration, I think, which I quite like. I think maybe if I go like 15 instead of 20, that might, oops, what's going on there? How am I tabbed into that? Let's go 15 here. Try that. Right. Yeah, that's quite nice. So that might be the ideal value, but I can play around with that, as I say, if that's something I decide I do really want. So yeah, going over the other goals just quickly. Let me pop that over to the side. Implementation of level design into code and game. So yeah, this is where we sort of start to fall apart. As I say, my time budget unfortunately has been massively reduced, and in terms of the level design, while I got all of that done, the actual implementation took a lot longer than I'd hoped. So it's very much a case, unfortunately, of just I'm gonna have to take it as it comes, and as I say, I will happily go over the time budget if necessary to make sure that I produce a solid quality game rather than just leaving it to chance. So yeah, in terms of sound design, I didn't get any of that done. Again, that one was very much a sort of time constraint thing. I did only really add that last week as like a sort of consideration. It was something I might do this week. So not having that done doesn't worry me too much. I've got sort of vague plans for how I want to make some sounds that sort of fit into the game. So again, not overly concerned about that. If I just press R, you can just see it sort of it's checkpointing me in the barrier at the moment, so it's instantly killing me. So again, these are sort of little things that I need to change. But this is the sort of thing that you'd very rarely encounter, because normally in this room there's no way to die, and then by the time that you get through to the next level, you can you set sort of a new checkpoint. So, things like that just need to sort of consider and work on. Now, other things that I've done this week, major tweaks to the movement. So obviously you feel a lot sort of smoother, faster. I'm very happy with how that has gone. Bug fixes, done oodles of bug fixes. There's been some sort of core engine bugs, I would say, that have sort of caused some major issues this week. So I'm happy those are resolved. Specifically the one where things were double updating. I think that was the most heinous one. But that's all good. Efficient drawing, as I mentioned earlier, I'd sort of reduced the time for a draw call down to like a massively reduced amount. So that's great. And yeah, a few small sort of sprite updates, so things look a bit cleaner, a bit nicer. Yeah, it's not perfect by any means, but it's definitely better than it was, I think. So yeah, pretty happy with how it's coming along anyway. These things unfortunately do just take time. So yeah, in terms of the week 4 goals, my goals were to create 10 final levels, which I need to, to be honest, I need to buckle down and get even like the second world in place, let alone everything like that. So that's less of a concern at the moment. Sound design, which again, that might happen next week. That is something that I want to get done, because that's sort of starting to be the sort of main point in why it's not already reasonable, if that makes sense. Now, interestingly, the puck here isn't drawing when it's in the player, which is really bizarre. I don't entirely know why that is. My Z layering must be messed up when I'm at a different camera Z value. That's quite peculiar, but okay, I guess. So that's good to know. Polishing the puzzles, again, that was always something that I was just sort of doing as I went anyway, but I was hoping that I'd be sort of much further along, which obviously didn't happen. So yeah, not the end of the world there. Graphics, yeah, again, there's just sort of a case of I'll polish those off as I come across them. Additional particle effects, I've actually added plenty. I'm sort of happy with how they are. So here's the other issue with, if I add this up here, you can see now this is unloaded. I've not added sort of a new load back trigger. So things like this, you can just go back and see where it's unloaded and escape the bounds of the level. So definitely going to need to add like a sort of portable barrier, because otherwise you can just sort of, get out of bounds very, very easily. You can see the next level hasn't even loaded because you've not passed through the load trigger for the previous level. So, I've got things very much working on a sort of, as long as everyone does what they're expected to do, everything will be fine basis. So yeah, I think ultimately it's just going to be a case of I want to finish World 1 and World 2 by the end of next week, and start on World 3 if I can, and then hopefully I can start to polish it off, and get ready for like a sort of demo release, just for the sort of end of the week 4. But either way, that's something that I'll need to sort of think about as I go. So yeah, I'm very flexible with that. Ultimately, it is now just a case of buckle down and make the levels work. So I'm happy with my week 4 goals as they stand. It's just very much a case now of do levels and be okay. Either way, I think that's pretty much it for now. So thank you all very much for watching. I know it's been a dramatic shift in terms of what's expected and what's actually going to sort of work out here. But hey, got to be flexible with these sort of things. You can't let an arbitrary time limit dictate your life too much, I don't think. I feel like that would be a sort of major mark against everything that has been achieved here. So, take it as it comes, and yeah, hopefully at the end of this we'll have a nice finished product to sort of show off. But yeah, either way, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow. Take care.